Before I ever give a high performance endorsement, I want to make sure the student can answer this one question for me. And there's always a caveat with that question, but it's simply, what happens if we're in flight and we lose a Magneto? Now, of course, you may ask, what does the high performance engine systems have to do with the Magneto specifically? And to me, it kind of falls back on those FOIs of the flight instructor. They talk about like the levels of learning, rote understanding, application, correlation. Because many people will understand what a Magneto does, how that works. They can understand how that works, how it affects the engine. They may be able to apply that during the run-up phase as they change mags back and forth. But it really comes down to that correlation phase that tells me, okay, do they actually understand what's happening behind this high-performance engine, this constant speed propeller? Because certainly, if we're in flight and we lose a Magneto, we don't get an RPM drop, right? Unless there's something like catastrophically going wrong. There's a lot of airflow moving through that propeller. So the windmilling alone is certainly enough to keep that RPM up. And then on top of it, we've got that constant speed propeller. So if we have a sudden loss of power, the prop governor kicks in and preserves that RPM difference. It changes the oil pressure to or from the propeller to maintain that constant propeller speed. So that, in the Cirrus where it's maintaining 2,500 RPM, you won't necessarily see a change in the RPM there. So what does change? And I want them to be able to answer that question. Okay, so how do we know? And of course, there's a flaw with that question too, because I'm starting with the answer. How do you know that a Magneto has failed? In flight, that doesn't happen, right? We don't go to the doctor and say, I have this diagnosis. No, we show up with symptoms, and they have to we have to do a bunch of tests and figure that out. So what are those symptoms in this plane? What are you going to find? Could there be engine roughness? Sure, there can be, but there's some other signs or some other engine indications that will be there as well. So what are those signs?